December 16th, 2015, we're interviewing Bill Massey. He's lived in Hot Springs quite a while, a long time, I guess. Anyway, where were you born, Bill?
I was born in Great Falls.
Great Falls. And your mother and dad?
My dad was born in England. My mother was born in Rugby, North Dakota.
And where did you grow up?
I grew up in Power and in Hot Springs. In Power, Montana, and Hot Springs, Montana, yeah.
And so did you go to school or anything in Power?
I went to the 8th grade in Power. You might supposed to be looking straight there.
I guess it doesn't.
Oh,
Where you are?
yeah, the profile is worse than the...
Anyway, okay, so then you came to Hot Springs when did you guys move to Hot Springs?
In 1953.
And you finished high school here?
Nope. I went to college in San Diego, California. Way after I got about in my 30s, I think. And then I graduated from high school in Plains in 1989. So I'd been to college before I went to high school, and mainly because of VA. They can't keep, they couldn't keep me out of school. They could fail me,
Well, I got all that. Okay. So you were married right after school?
I was married, the first time when I was a sophomore in high school.
Okay. And how many children did you have?
I had 4 children at home.
Okay, we'll go to the service then. Did you enlist or were you drafted?
No, I enlisted.
Okay, and Navy,
I
Army?
enlisted in August of 1958. And I served till August of 1962, and then affiliated with my reserve unit in Great Falls for the next 2 years.
And Navy, Army, or Marines?
In the Navy.
Navy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and where were you inducted?
Great Falls, Montana.
And where did you get your basic training?
In Recruit Training Center in San Diego, California.
For the Navy.
Mm-hmm. The Navy.
And how did that go?
Oh, it was wonderful. Yeah, I guess sometimes I have to make stories out of everything. But you take a little kid from Hot Springs, Montana, who never saw the beach or a palm tree or anything like that.
And a boat.
So it was exciting.
And a big boat.
And needless to say, when we got off that troop train in San Diego and that old Chief Petty Officer in that gray bus showed up, things changed for a little bit. You remember, George?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that little shock there. But.
And where were you shipped?
Well, first place I went to the Naval Hospital in San Diego, and I went to Hospital Corpsman School there. Mm-hmm. And then I went to the U.S. Naval Hospital at Camp Pendleton, California, where I was stationed work with some of the Marines and at the hospital.
And so what kind of training did you get then?
My training was from, working the wards with direct patient care, the ER, to the operating room and the pharmacy and
A regular nurse training, not EMT then?
Right, yeah. I think I didn't take it, but I could have been grandfathered as an LPN when I got out, but I didn't do it. I had a job when I got out of the service that I worked at before I went in.
So were you overseas? Did you ever go overseas?
Yes. I always wanted to go to sea, so after I spent over 2 years at Camp Pendleton and I heard about a Chief Petty Officer down in the supply department that had some pull in the Westpac office in San Diego, so I went over and talked to him, and he, wanted to know how I ever heard him, and I explained that, I'd been told about him, and so that basically ended it. So then he calls our personnel department, talked to the personnelman, Jim Deal. It had happened that I was an usher at his wedding, so I had some pull there too, So anyway, about 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later, I got that little IBM card that says you're transferred to the USS Bennington, CVS 20. And so I went aboard right after the first of the year, and we went overseas, and so we went to Hawaii, and we were in the Philippines, and Korea, and Okinawa, and spent a week of medical watch in Hong Kong, and then back to the Philippines, and then we had some forest recons on board, and we were supposed to go, basically, my understanding, to Vietnam. And on the way in the South China Seas, there's an elevator on the side of an aircraft carrier that takes the aircraft taxi off the hangar deck onto the elevator, and they go up to the flight deck, and then they're ready for launch. Well, evidently someone left that elevator down, so we got into the South China Sea, and we hit a typhoon that was really a beauty. It was fun, man, it was fun. But anyway, the waves and stuff took that elevator and just twisted it down. So that meant we had to go north. So we went back to Japan, went in the shipyards, and they fixed the old girl up, and by then it was time, our cruise was over, so we went back to San Diego and got back there on the 1st of August, and the 12th I was going home. And so for the most part, there was a possibility that slim one that I might have been able to get hurt, but it was the best time of my whole life.
And so,
I mean, it was wonderful. I had a great time.
And how did you take care of wounded soldiers then?
Yeah. Well, mainly there were some training accidents. When Marines train, they're pretty serious about it, and they will hurt one another, and a couple gunshot wounds like that, and then there was always something happening aboard ship where it took some medical care. And see, the ship had a 35-bed hospital on it. We had 5 doctors.
Wow.
And we had a beautiful OR suite, and we do surgery quite a bit, and we had 2 quiet rooms for the guy that got a little too drunk. We had to keep him in a padded room for a day or two, but I got to see a lot of things, and but that's just all part of the job.
So, did you
you always remember is the fun.
Did you get off in any of the bases then, like Philippines or?
Oh yeah, we went. We were in Hawaii 3 times, and then in Japan we were at 4 different cities, and in the Philippines there's a city there that all the sailors know about as Olongapo, and at Subic Bay, and it's a wonderful place to go. Best beer in the world. Yeah.
I'm not saying it, girls.
Oh yeah, I mean in every port, but man. But most of us, that were, I was a 3rd class petty officer then, so, and you sent most of your money home, so most of us, we didn't have that much money, because I had a son at that time that was sending my money home too, so. No. Yes, there was lots of them, but there were so many of us that were basically married men or had families, and we'd pool our money, go down to the club, and drink beer.
So, and how was the food in all these places? Did you get to eat?
for me, the experience, you know, some of it was awful blah. You know, it didn't have any taste, and I mean, you go down on some of the streets where they had, you know, meat markets and stuff like that, and you remember that, the flies and everything would be all over the beach, you know, and but it was okay. But I usually made it back to the ship. We had the food in the Navy, as far as I'm concerned, because I've been on my own a long time before I went into service, so even the boot camp food was good for me. It was delicious. And aboard ship, those guys were wonderful cooks and bakers. And, yeah, so.
Any other experiences over there? You see any bad things outside of the flies in your boat?
Not really. I fell off the quay wall in San Diego. The quay wall is a seaplane ramp. Well, the quay wall is actually where the carriers, this big ships tie up, and then forward to that is a bunch of seaplane hangars and ramps, and of course the ramps go down to the water where they drive them in. Well, I remember old Tom Brown. We'd been right before we went overseas, and we was over in the EM Club drinking beer, and so we're walking back to the ship. Well, you could see the ramp, and it was still wet on the side, but the tide, you know, the tide was out. And I remember old Brown saying, he said, Massey, go see how the water is, see if it's cold. Me and I went running down there, and next thing I know, my white hat's floating out to sea. I fell about 4 feet into the water, you know. They reached down, grabbed me up, pulled me out, so we went back aboard the ship, and I was a little scared. The old chief on the afterbow, he just looked at me and says, oh, Massey, get down to and go to bed. So I got to do everything I ever wanted to do that I could think of doing, and you know.
Well, it must have been a pretty big boat, if how many airplanes were on it then, and all the seaplanes too? You had both kinds?
We had the fixed air wing. We were an anti-submarine outfit, so we had 2 squadrons, I think, of fighter planes, and we had a squadron of helicopters, and but the things that we had, they were all gas-driven engines. You know, they were all prop jobs. No, we didn't. Sometimes they would do some touch and goes with jets, but we never had any. And that was the first time I ever got to ride in an airplane with being launched off that old girl, and that was exciting. That's what made me wanted me to learn how to fly. Was after that.
So about how many airplanes and helicopters were on board all the time? You must have carried a lot of fuel.
Oh, yeah. You know, things like that, I don't remember. I know that I think it was 3 or 4 squadrons, you know, they'd sent their own personnel, so when we went overseas, we probably had almost 6,000 people on. And then they sent 2 doctors, so when we went overseas, we had 5 doctors. And but there was always somebody doing something stupid. But, you know, they get hurt.
So
but I don't have any war stories.
So then did you land back in San Diego and come home, or?
Yeah, I got out of San Diego and on the 12th of August, went down to City Chevrolet, bought me a brand new Chevy for $1,800 and some dollars, and we headed home. And of course, I'd had a job in Great Falls, so I went to Great Falls back to work for that. I worked at the smelter, the Anaconda Company.
So when did you move back to Hot Springs?
Now I've been home 35 years, I think. I went back to San Diego, lived down there for 15 years or so. Maybe not that long, but then come back here with the kids.
And so after you come back, where did you work here then?
I work for myself.
Okay.
And then I worked for the power company for a long time too.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember that. But, and I thought you were on the ambulance too?
Oh yeah, we were EMTs and we were on the ambulance for quite a few years. Until it got too hard to get up in the morning and go to work after being on call half the night or run.
Well, did you have any experience from the ambulance time?
Oh yeah, I don't know, with the car accidents, always lots of heart attacks, and, hanging, a couple suicides. This is an active little community.
So what's some more stories about our active little community?
Oh yeah, and we have had and have an excellent service. If our ambulance shows up, you're going to be okay if it's possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you started your own construction?
Yeah, I've always had it. Yeah.
Okay.
But when I no longer was a county commissioner, then I went back to work doing what I think I do best.
That's right. You were a county commissioner for what? 6 months?
Oh, no, a couple of years, I think.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Okay. That must have been a fun time too, huh? You can say that.
Well, I don't know how to phrase it. It was a fun time, and it could have been a wonderful job if government was like everybody thinks it should be. And we took on things that maybe I shouldn't have, but and so if you get enough people frustrated with you, then they can start a recall thing, and which they did.
So,
And the sad part about the recall was I lost by 48 votes because the one commissioner, she took hers to court, what they were frustrated about, and the judge threw it out. Well, mine, I'm too tight to buy an attorney. So I took it before the electorate, and I lost by 48 votes, but after that 48 votes, I had calls and cards from people that were devastated because they misread the ballot. And then it was about a year later, then I got a call from part of the group that dumped me, and they wanted me to run for the state senate. And so, and my family said, no more politics for you, Dad. No.
So, and when did you take flying lessons then for your own airplane? You owned your own airplane, I believe.
Oh, long time ago. I don't remember when.
Did you take it in Great Falls then?
No, in Polson and Thompson Falls, and there's about 4 of us that learned how to fly in my airplane, and we, for the most part, I think most of it about half self-taught. You go until you can, they'll let you solo. And
so who all took lessons with you?
Commissioner Glenn McGarrah.
Okay.
And Mark Loris and Chris Loris and then there was several kids or a couple of kids in Polson who took lessons in my plane. I let them do that, and then they went on to fly for UPS, and the girl she's a commercial pilot, so my airplane did some good.
So the one that's flying for UPS, was that kind of related to Blossoms? Can't remember his name.
Oh, no. I know who you're talking about. Yeah, he had his own plane, but man, he's a good pilot. I mean, he had a lot larger one than mine, and yeah. Oh yeah. No, we went, a lot of guys would get together and be able to have these fly-ins, and we'd fly around the different towns to the fly-ins and hang out and just tell big lies, tell stories, you know.
And did you have anything to do with the upgrading the airport out here?
The very beginning, yeah. I got the warning balls on the power line for them, and the original cones that are out there, and
The light, the beacon?
lights, the first part, we repaired the beacon, but no, the airport board, I think that, you know, that I was a part of it for a long time, but I really wasn't of much value because I never participated in anything, so I resigned from it. But no, the guys did it, and that was another thing Mark Loris did. You know, he extended that with the guides, which was fine. You know, they extended the length of our runway, and it's really a nice little runway.
Yes,
It's a nice little airport.
Yeah,
and,
everybody likes to land
we sure
there.
had a lot of fun in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard a lot of good things about people landing out there,
Oh yeah.
and then a lot of the people would fly in and then take the baths at that time.
Oh yeah, the Symes people they'd go get them, you know. And a lot of times, you know, I'd get calls from all over and wanting to know our airport conditions and things like that, and then, you know, that doesn't happen anymore, but.
Well, I don't see too many planes, I don't think, landing out here anymore for some reason. Well, we have no baths anymore, I guess, much that's exciting.
Yeah, I guess I don't really know what has happened about that, but you know, I had the one and only fly-in. That we had a bunch come in there, and some great pilots came in there. You know, some of those old World War II airplanes came and they did air show for us, and you know, that was a great day for all of us, and it's hard for us to get much funding for it, because for the most part I think that our airports should have been designated as an emergency airstrip, because you know, we do have a lot of fog, but we don't have near the fog and stuff that they have up the river, you know, with the other airports, until they got all kinds of money to put on theirs, to where, you know, because I used to take and fly down and go get the paychecks, and for the guys at work, and then at one time or a couple of times I'd have to turn around and come home because I couldn't find the airport.
So a few years ago, we had some smoke jumpers were flying out of here, I think. And then they crashed up at Columbia Falls.
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember that.
I remember, because we watched them. They jumped into the airport. We watched them jump out of the airplane, and then I don't know if they crashed, I think, going home after that, or fairly soon.
Well, that could be.
Yeah, they might have been gone then.
Those folks that belong to those jump clubs, you know, they come just about every summer, and they'll come in flying and they'll jump, and because they can do it, they don't have to worry about a lot of traffic, so they can really have a great time. Yeah, I've watched them do that a lot of times. It's another special bunch of people.
That's right. Yes, that's right. So, well, with your construction, have you built a lot of houses then?
Mainly houses, remodels,
No.
some
Okay.
commercial.
So, and I think you have a state license.
Yes. Yeah, our company is totally legal, I guess. We're insured and bondable and everything that you're supposed to have, and we pay well. And
It costs a lot of money to be bonded and all that good stuff, I think.
well, it makes our, sometimes it makes my hourly rates to the point to where, they'll find somebody else to do the work, and that's fine. We all got to save where we can, but you get audited once in a while from the government, you'll wish you had your insurance and stuff.
And if somebody gets hurt on your job,
Oh, boy.
yeah, people don't think about that. Okay. Well, what kind of changes have you seen in Hot Springs since you've been here?
Well,
The ski run, the bathhouse closing.
I guess the main thing that I recall is from the first time that my dad and I came into town. I came off of the prairie, there wasn't hardly any trees out there in the hedge. And we drove into Hot Springs and got out of the car, and of course, people were going all over. They were walking, they were all going down to Nyack, the kids were going down to the movie theater, and the smell that came off of that mountain was something that I couldn't hardly describe. So, of course, Dad came here in 1928 with rheumatism, and and to him, he never had an ache or pain until the day he died, but you couldn't tell him that they weren't miracle waters. And, so he'd been here, I hadn't, and I fell in love with this community then, and then Dad being basically a single parent at the time, well, him and I, so I had more moms than you can believe, boy. And gosh, they're all dead now, but,
Yeah.
and, so it was a great place. There's still a lot of you that I went to school with, the gals are like my sisters. I love them all to death, the guys are really close. And then, but like, for instance, gee whiz, we had the sawmill in back of town, and sawmill down in Irad, and Camas Prairie, and the Bonneville was going through, and I think the pipeline. And farming and ranching was relative in those times, and so I think there's some stats out that said in 1952 the town of Hot Springs had the highest per capita income of any community of its size in America. And if you didn't have a job in those days, you were basically unemployable, And I mean, how many grocery stores? 4 or 5 grocery stores, and all kinds of restaurants, and we had the Pioneer Bar at that time, and all the saloons and the motels
And the hospital.
the beautiful hotels in the hospital, and so this was a great community.
The bathhouse was going. We had the influx of ranchers or farmers.
I used to go take my dad up there and dry that old booger out in that old. No, that bathhouse was wonderful. Yeah. And of course now there's not much to do for anybody, and I worry sometimes, and maybe I shouldn't be putting this on film, but I worry about the telephone company. I mean, they employ quite a few wonderful people, and these cell phones, and people were going to maybe start leaving,
And then we lost the hospital too. I mean, that was,
Oh boy. Yep.
and then we never got the ski run off the ground.
Nope. Well, and then the Camry, which was a great bunch of people who worked their hearts off trying to get the bathhouse going, and all this and that, and no matter which way they turned, they run into obstacles, and that would have been great. And maybe the tribes yet will maybe do something with that old place, because structurally, that old building is sound from a builder's aspect. And so there was a little asbestos in it, but
Well, I take it there
I
was a
think
lot of
people-
asbestos in it.
well, just mainly just wrapping of the pipes, and that old siding might have been asbestos, but
Yeah, I think so.
my gosh, you'd have to eat it.
It's gone now, though, I think.
Yeah, it's all gone, it's cleaned up, and then, of course, the pipes and stuff, you know, were wrapped in it, but holy cow, that old ship of Ion had miles and miles and miles of pipe in it. It was all wrapped with asbestos, and I'm 77 years old, I'm still kicking, so, yeah, we just... But I think there is still a group. I'm kind of a name dropper, but I'm kind of amazed with Leslie Smith. Now, there's quite a businesswoman, and she, you know, she's done a lot of stuff for this town, bringing in acts and keeping people running around. You know, she's quite a lady.
And we're really down to one grocery store and one gas station now, where we used to have so many.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I think I was the last kid to work for Betty at Reinerson's garage when I was in high school.
Did you?
And I drove the last pickup that she had, and my father-in-law, Howard Buck, bought that pickup, and it was the store all those years. And then there was an older Chevrolet car that was there, and John Hooley bought it, I think. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we even had the car dealership Sheldon's, didn't we?
Well, before that was Holt.
Holtz.
Remember Vicky's still going, and
Yes.
yeah, and yeah. And then Sheldon got into international, and he sold stuff. And they did well, and what happens after that, I don't know.
So what happened, what other jobs did you have besides Reinerson's? Did you ever help your dad out in the...
Oh yeah, on the ranch, and then clean up the bar on Sunday.
What ranch did you have?
He bought the old Benson place, you know, go out the airport road and...
Oh, way out.
Yeah, just across the creek and the river and the creek, and first turn to your left up in there. Jacobson's had it for 2, and then I think Torgenson's had it, and I don't know who has it now. Yeah. Dad paid $15,250 for that lake. He bought the Pioneer for $25,000. So, you know, but yet I am a kid that, well, I served 2 old-fashioned apprenticeships a long time ago, but even as a first period apprentice, I was able to support my family, you know, and I think it was when I was a cabinet maker apprentice, we wanted to buy a house. This is what I served my apprenticeship in Great Falls, and we wanted to buy a house, and we saved all fall and all winter, and we saved $500 to buy this, make a down payment on this $10,500 house. So, you know, but you was able to, you know,
You were able to do it in those
you
days.
could do it in those days, and
Pay it off.
oh yeah, and so it's everything has changed. Of course, we didn't have all that fancy stuff that people have now, but we did. We had a television. And I made car payments and finished paying off my old truck that I bought in the Navy. But I think I hopped it twice to pay for Rob when he was born.
Have you know any more things you want to ask, George?
Always the tales of growing up. I mean, wild guys, you know,
Oh,
stories. The ones you can tell on.
you know, well, actually, you know, we, drank beer, smoked cigarettes, and chased girls. And we had a great time. There was a great bunch of guys, and they were guys and girls, and you took your hat off in front of them, and nobody ever swore in front of them that I remember.
And so who was the cop at that time, Ernie or Harvey?
Ward.
Ward. Okay.
Weinbrenner.
Ward Weinbrenner.
Yeah, he was great. Man, if he told you it's time to go home, you went home. And he never had to carry a gun or nothing. He had a little sap in his back pocket. And he was a big man,
Yes, he was.
And I remember him, boy, if he could calm everything down. He could calm down things as well as Harvey could. Harvey, Harvey Schultz could. But see, Harvey was he was an honored darn kid. Because he kind of got, handed down and around because he was basically, didn't have parents much in those days, I don't think. No, he was great.
Then there was Merlin Marks in the late 60s.
Yeah, we were going. I didn't know him.
You're lucky.
And like you say, there was Arnie Laws.
Yes, one bullet Ernie, they called him.
Remember when he stopped some old girl out here about something, and he's chewing her out, and he's giving her this. She grabbed his finger, broke his finger.
Yep, I remember. She was my neighbor.
That's great, Yeah, he was a great guy. He was fine, And as small a man as he is, I felt that he had a lot of courage to do that job, I remember when Dale Ballison was a deputy.
Yeah.
Well, he always used to, I spent a lot of time with the Marine Corps and stuff, and so, all of us that were in the military had some physical training, for stuff. And he always wanted me to join the reserve, and I told him, I said, well, I might chase the hell out of him, but I'm not going to guarantee I'm going to get him stopped, catch him, because, boy, when you stop guys around here, they were powerful guys. They're allowed to tip you over in a hurry,
Yeah.
I remember one story with Ernie. The kids were getting beer from the Montana bar, and he was watching them. So they were going to have a party out Skunk, I think it was. So, they told it all over town they were going to meet up Skunk. Well, he went barreling up Skunk, and they'd gone somewhere else. So he missed out on getting the kids that time.
Well, see, back at Skunk, that old building there that was, I think it was a county building at that time, that's where we all used to park. And you'd go up there at night, there'd be like 4 or 5 cars, bumper to bumper, and everybody be out there smooching, drinking beer, or drinking Highlander. Yeah, boy. I remember, now this is a gross story. One of the guys, what the heck's his name? One of the guys went into the Air Force, and I'll probably think of it later. And so everybody was going, and I was the youngest of the bunch, and everybody was going to give him a going away party, And so I got a bottle of Jim Beam from Dad from the bar. And so we're parked out here where the old rodeo grounds used to be, Man, so we were going to pass this bottle around, and I got the first swig on it. Man, I tipped it up, and boy, it went down into my stomach, back up into the bottle. And I didn't have courage to tell him I puked in the bottle, So I just passed it around. The guy, we drank that whole bottle. Never said a word.
Uh-oh.
God, Yep. And, there's some real characters that were here in those days. Everybody worked. And everybody was busy.
And you played hard. Worked hard and played hard. So did you ever go ice skating and things like at Lone Pine?
Well, we used to, I don't ever remember going ice skating, no. But a lot of the kids did. But we used to skinny dip all the time in Lone Pine, in the reservoir in the summer. Yeah.
Were you around when the Ulvik boy drowned?
No.
I think that's the only tragedy we had.
Yeah, no. No, I knew him, but I don't know where I was at the time that this happened. No. They're good kids.
We had a lot of good kids.
You know, in study hall, Daffy, Gloria Dix was in front of me, Janine was behind me, Martin was behind me. I can't remember for sure who was beside me in study hall up in the far left-hand corner. And, you know.
You had study halls in those days.
Oh,
didn't we?
yeah. I remember Adele was, she was with the, I don't know whether she was the clerk then or she was the librarian. You remember? Yeah. The guy just started giving her a hard time and Adele would turn bright red and the old blood vessels stick out in her forehead and I thought, oh, she's, you know, Sweden, the guy just, I can't tell the stories about that.
So, what teachers did you have? Mr. Rusma?
Yep.
Mr. Fisher? Did you have?
You know, Rusma and Willard
Smith.
Willard J. I knew them and Mr. Barlow.
Okay.
And Mr. Barlow was probably one of the nicest guys that ever came. And Mr. Rusma, you know, I'll tell another story. Mr. Rosen taught math, and he's so bright and so far above me that I couldn't grasp it, you know. So then I was kind of a smart alecky kid in class, and he didn't like me, and he had the right to, you know. And so years and years later, even when I was in the Navy, I think about Mr. Rosen, and I felt guilty about being such a, you know, such a brat, you know. So. Out of the service and everything, and moved home here. And I was to teach a CPR class at the Senior Citizen Center. And Chloe was supposed to recertify because she was, you know, working in Pulse. And holy moly, I'm set up to start the class, and here comes Mr. Rusman. Oh, geez, you know, I kind of freaked. And I thought, I'm going to have to do the best job of my life. You know? So after the class was over, Mr. Rubin come over and he put his arm around me and he says, "You never can tell about a kid, can you, Billy?" So from then on, man, I loved that man. And,
He remembered everything, didn't he?
oh, yeah. Well, I think one of the, because he was Claire's class sponsor, you know, and one of his little thoughts of wisdom that he gave her, he said, you know, if you ever see a cow standing in the middle of the road, don't slow up. Because, you know, the guy, he's always in trouble driving because he's always late for work. So he'd come, he could see the dust and hear him coming forever, you know. Because he had to work the ranch and stuff.
Yeah.
Yep, he was, God, I missed him. And,
I don't remember any kids ever being really mean. Were you bullied in school, or were any of the kids bullied?
no, not really. I came off a wheat ranch, and, you know, the only real physical work that we ever do is to clean the grain out of the back of the grain truck box when you're dumping the grain into an auger, you know. So that was basically our physical things, other than what you did by being in sports, which, you know, I did that pretty well. Well, I came over here, and these guys were men. I mean, they milked all these cows and stacked all that loose hay and stuff. And boy, you know, I very easily could have been bullied, but I had a gift of gab, so I could get, you know, and I'm real careful about offending anybody, that's for sure. You know, I didn't want any of those guys after me. And of course, then when I went to school here, we had a brand new 53 Ford Victoria hardtop convertible, salmon pink and with a white top. So that helped. Everybody liked the car.
Always an icebreaker.
Oh, that was a real icebreaker, Dan. Yeah, with that first night ride that we moved here, well, I came into town with it, and the first young man I met was Joe Perkins. And we talked, and we had a dance up at the school, so I went up with him. From then on, it was a downhill pull. It was good. But, you know, some of the, you know, well, I guess I have not much but good to say about everybody, you know. I mean, you know, Georgietta, and, you know, I'm really fond of her. And, of course, Bug Dawson, and, you know, all these kids we went to school with, and they're still here, you know. Janine's still here, you're still here.
Yeah.
That's when I love these reunions. And our last one was a good one. Bob and Gene and the guys did a great job putting that one together. And I got to see Jimmy Kendrick for the first time in 40 years, and he was a great kid and a character. And
Yeah.
but then, you know, everybody seemed to be so much bigger than what they were, you know. So, you know, when we get old, we get looking old. That's what I love, you know, my VA clinic's in Missoula, and my doctor is a lady, and she's got a slew of us old buzzards, you know. And what she did, she's got pictures of all of us when we were kids in the service. And she's got a big hallway down there. She's got all of our pictures. So she looks at us when we come in there, you know, kind of shakes her head. And then she goes out there and says, hey, those kids weren't all that bad. They had hair, you know, they 50 pounds lighter. And so,
Usually grins on their face.
oh, yeah. Well, most of us have grins when we go to see her because she's the character. She loves us all, you know.
What's her name?
Oh, Dr. Susan Selbach.
Oh, mine's Dr. Bernie.
Oh, the lady. I guess she's great too.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I have to campaign a little bit for the VA. And administratively, yeah, they have some problems, but I'm here to tell you that their doctors and their lab people, and they're wonderful, and they care about us. You know, they really care about us. And, my experiences have been great.
I have no complaints.
No, and she calls once in a while to see if I'm okay. And I said, that, you know, and that little clinic and the stuff we get, there's 20,000 guys that they've got to take care of. That's what she told me the other day when I saw her. And I think there's 6 doctors and a few PAs and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I was down there at 3 o'clock and she just sat there and they visited with Claire while I must have been the last patient, you know, so they give you the time you need.
To the wild stories. It's okay, you can tell.
No, actually, basically fell in the water when I was in the Navy. I didn't know. Overseas, you had to be pretty mild. However, they had, well, actually though, the H division, there were 35 men in H division, not counting the doctors, in hospital division when we were overseas. And they had what they call Cinderella Liberty, which meant that everybody had to be back aboard ship by midnight. Well, before we got back from overseas, we had to be back by 8 o'clock in the evening, and one doctor had a Marine Guard stand in front of his door, wouldn't even let him go out. So, yeah, there. And, you know, the history sometimes of this valley is really interesting. I mean, you know, I wished, you know, hear this wish thing, you know, it's just like Howard. He had, I mean, he knew, because the family had been here over 100 years, you know, and Jenny's family in the Hollands, you know. I mean, they've been here over 100 years, and so there's a lot of neat things, you know, where for television and stuff. I can remember, all right, they used to play an awful lot of pinochle night, remember?
Oh, yes.
Oh, and then sometimes they start playing pinochle and right after chores, and I'd get up in the morning, they'd still be playing pinochle. Because I never had the patience, and I don't have the killer instinct. Because, I mean, these people play cards and they're serious. Well, you know, they'd be mad at me all the time because I didn't care. So they had Bert and Bertha had this old television set, and all it was snow. Remember when Bill Hurst, the guy when he went in the Air Force, he's the one we had the party for. Well, Bill worked with Vincent, you know, when they had the pharmacy there. Well, they had this old Chevy pickup and a big long antenna, remember? And then it's all on back, and they drive all over the area trying to get a picture. But they finally had one channel in Missoula trying to get a picture. And Bert he had a TV line run clear up the hill, you know. And so it would be really snowy, and you'd be going around trying to get the picture. Well, they'd be pinochle, and I'd be watching that snowstorm, you know. Gosh. Remember at midnight they shut her down, and the first show that I physically got to watch was The Life of Riley.
And did you go to any of the movies at the Naya Theater?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's why I used to admire Claire so much, is that she would be selling tickets at the Naya, and then usually when the movie's about 3/4 of the way over, she could close the till, and then anybody could just walk in, you know. So then we'd get out of the movie, and we'd head up the courtyard, and she'd be working for Lillian, remember? And she'd be waiting tables there, you know. So.
Yeah, they hired ushers.
Oh, yeah. I used to admire the devil out of her because she was a hard-working lady.
And a lot of Roy Rogers and Lone Rangers and...
Oh, yeah.
John Wayne.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think that's how, you know, I could stay home all the time and watch old movies anymore. And my dad loved movies. And in Great Falls, they had the Rainbow, the Town, the Liberty, and the Civic Center theaters, you know. And then they had double features, and they'd change twice a week. Well, we'd hit them all. And boy, Sunday night, you know, we'd probably go to the Liberty and see a double feature, and then go down, stop off at Hussman's and get a hot dog, and then go to the Civic Center, and we'd watch a double feature there. Stop off at a little store going out on the west side. They're called Dixon's, and the bread man had just showed up about time, and he'd buy a couple loaves of that real fresh, soft bread and bologna and stuff. We'd head out to the old farm. And
So where was your farm over there?
it was east of Power, 3 miles.
Oh, Power.
Yeah, it was my great-grandfather's homestead.
Okay. So which way out of Great Falls is Power? I'm not familiar
Oh,
with
it's
Power.
north. Going, you go to You go to, well, Power's off the road a mile, so you would never see it probably. And then you go to Brady and Dutton, and then Brady and Conrad, and up through there, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, and they homesteaded there. And so, did they keep their homestead? They didn't lose it during the 30s and?
No, they did it. Well, see, my grandmother she was a school teacher, so she taught school in Power. And so, they did it. Of course, see, they kept the place, but my grandfather died, my grandfather died when my mom was only about 3 years old, so her mother was basically a single parent. But I think my grandmother graduated from Concordia in Minneapolis or St. Paul, And so she was a teacher. And my mother, she always wanted to go to Dillon, She ended up with the old man and us, so that ended that.
So they mainly raised wheat?
Just wheat. No.
Just wheat?
Grain, yeah.
Grain?
Yeah, wheat and barley. Oh, yeah. It was a dry land, Oh, yeah. Well, and Dad was a character. We used to buy that AAA insurance, and so if something happens, you at least got 10 bushel to the acre. Well, we got hailed out 3 years in a row, and so it must have been about the third year, I guess. We're getting hailed out again, and my brother Greg and I, because the other two weren't even born yet, we're helping Mom put cardboard in those old windows in that old farmhouse, and there's a window about like this there. My dad's standing back there. He's cussing Mother Nature. I mean, he's giving her a hard time. So they were big hailstones. So a hailstone about the size of a golf ball came through, broke the window, followed by another one, and hit the old man right in the forehead. Knocked him out. Of course, my mom and my brother and I mean, we're hysterical. It was funny. Because, he had it coming. He got up and went down. We didn't see him for 2 days. Then my brothers and I mean, we were just left to run. We never got in trouble, but our guns were always single shots. Dad always said, you only need one, but if you kill it, you got to eat it. I remember my brother out in the pasture, he'd have a little fire going and a blackbird or something on a stick, and whatever our parents told us, man, that was it, Oh, yeah. Oh, Grady shot the toilet with my dad in it one time with the shotgun.
Is he still alive, Grady?
Well, the old man was so hungover that he come flying out of there, fell in an old wood pile under there for underwear down to his knee. Oh. That's why Claire says that one of those boys are even alive. Oh yeah, we'd go swimming sometimes, and when you have that little skim of ice on the top in the summertime, go break that in the spring weather. And then go swimming in our reservoir, our stock reservoir, that you'd have about this much water, and we could swim in that real easy. And underneath that was ice, but you'd follow that sun ray around, and it'd be nice and warm.
Sometimes I don't think the ranch kids get to have as much fun.
Well, no, I mean, gosh. That was what used to amaze me, that, some of them, and this one I won't mention anything, but they'd come to school, and they'd still have cow manure on their boot shoes and stuff, and you could smell that cow manure in the classroom, And of course...
Did you ride the horse to school too at that time?
Oh, no.
You had a vehicle?
Out here, no. The kids that I liked was Gail Crone and Ivy White and Marlene Christensen, and then picks up the little Wells kids, and old George, it was his bus, I remember that old Ford bus of his, and God, it'd be cold in that bus. And then and then Dad let me take the car too. Yeah. Because it was a lot colder in this country then. A lot colder.
Yeah. Do you ever remember being hungry as a kid out on the ranch when you were little? Of course, we ran.
Well, yeah, but the thing is that there was never any eating in between meals. And in town, we lived in town also. That's where my mom lived, and she had a restaurant and stuff there. Or before then, but we'd get out of school, and I think Monday was wash day, and Tuesday was bake day. And I'd get out of school, and man, the smell of homemade bread would be coming. Man, my brothers and I, we'd hit the back door, and she'd give us a loaf of bread. We'd eat a whole loaf of. That was the only time that we ever ate in between meals, and that we never. But so when dinner time came or whatever, you'd hit the door, and man, you ate everything, And it's pretty horrible. Like, oh, Dad cooked those ducks and stuff, And, but you'd be so hungry, you'd go and then you ate the worst stuff first,
I still do that.
Yeah, you eat the string beans. Now, if it's whatever she wants, the asparagus. No, asparagus is good. It's that other
Cauliflower.
cauliflower. Yeah. And then, of course, some of that stuff was so cheap. You ate a lot of rutabagas. And,
Yeah. Potatoes, they always had potatoes.
oh, yeah.
Liver at least once a week.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And, yeah, when Dad butchered, well, yeah. I don't remember eating the brains. I think one of the guys used to help him took the brains, but eat the jaws and of course the oxtail. The tail my mom would make soup. Oh gosh, that's delicious. Claire can't eat the tongue, but that's good too.
Oh, we used to eat tongue all the time.
Yeah.
Head cheese.
Head cheese.
Couldn't do that stuff though as a kid.
Mm-hmm. But I suppose that what kept everybody, and there was never a lot of overweight people because you worked so dang hard, you weren't able to,
And in the summer, you were out early and late.
Yeah.
Harvest time.
Boy, you ever stack bales hungover? Greg and I got home one night, and I don't know where we'd been, but oh God, I was sick, and got to bed about 3, 4 in the morning, and the old man got us up, and took till noon to start healing up. Boy, stacking bales by hand, and
So a dance every Saturday night in those days too?
oh yeah, and the chivalries, remember?
Oh yeah.
And I know some of us one time, they were having this dance out at Garson. And it had to be it was a wedding party because there was a keg of beer or two outside, and some, I don't know how we had them, but we had some jugs and filled them up full of beer, and we all headed to Lone Pine Reservoir and West Kitty just went swimming anyway. But that was just the guys.
I miss Garson Gulch. The hall, New Year's Eve parties and stuff.
Oh, yeah. And then, out at Lone Pine. Nirada. I can remember Nirada mainly is that, all the moms, they put together, they bring sandwiches or stuff like that, and at midnight, everything was shut down, and we'd all eat, The little kids, they'd be laying on the benches sleeping,
Yep.
I remember basket
sandwiches.
socials too that people had in those days. That's how they made their money. And fixed their lunch a lot of times.
Oh, yeah. And they were good lunch, too,
I remember Nirada, Don Frolin played the guitar and sang. I still remember his songs.
Yeah, well, and then when John would be there, and Ronnie Jacobson would be there, and Fuzz McGarrett, Eddie McGarrett would be
McGarrett.
there, and then sometime, remember Billy Schaefer be playing the drums or
Oh,
something?
was she?
Yeah. And then Baxter, Hank, or was that Hank was the one that played the fiddle and stuff too?
I
Yeah,
remember that.
you know. And, Ronnie, I mean, and most of them, they're just, they didn't have music
Self-taught, I
lessons or
think,
nothing.
yeah.
They're all self-taught.
Yeah.
And it was good. They'd all be playing together. We'd all be trying to dance. Yeah.
People played instruments back then. Nobody does that hardly anymore. I mean, young people. I mean, everybody had a band of some sort.
Oh, yeah. And then there was always so much more social. It's just like Claire and I now. Holy moly, we get to hang out with the kids once in a while, but we're up at that other end of town. And it's like we're at the end of the world, and people die, and I don't even know it, And so Ginny's kind of took it upon herself to call me because we don't get newspaper or nothing. And boy, oh boy.
This one.
Uh-oh.
Card is full. I guess that tells us.
It tells us that
Yeah.
enough's enough.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess we